Okay, guys, welcome back to summary class 2, right? In the week number 1, we spoke about a few things, and they were basically what is Java, what is the difference between Java Development Kit, Java Runtime Environment, and Java Virtual Machine. We have understood what are variables and data types and operators, right? Now we need to look at a few more things, that is an array, how to work with loops, correct? And then we will take a look into var args and Java classes and objects. Week number 2 is also getting started with Java class and objects, which is very, very, very important for us to clear our foundation in object-oriented programming language, which is Java. We have to understand how this Java class concepts works and what exactly we can do with Java class, okay? This is very important. So we will get started with that. And then if time permits, I'll go to Selenium introduction. I'll go to configuration of Selenium and configuring Chrome driver. And then probably we will create a basic automation test case with Selenium. Okay, that's the plan for today. All right. Okay, so I was seeing a few questions coming up in the Slack channel where people were a little bit struggling with the assignments. Don't worry, I will help you with those, and we can complete that as well. Okay, so let's just get started with the first thing, and that is basically our arrays. Okay, and if you come to this, no, not here. I'll go to the PPT. The PPT is in the PPT is in the second class. Okay, here. So here's the PPT, and we are trying to understand about a few things here. I believe that I remember that we have completed till operators. I think logical operators eventually, not the pre and postfix. So we will go and try to understand that first. And then from there, we can move on. Okay. All right. Pre and postfix operator, which denotes plus plus. Okay. Let's take a very simple example, and then we will see. So let me just close off everything here. We will create a new project. Creating a new project is simple. Right-click in this panel of Eclipse, new Java project. And you can give a name here in this input box. So we'll say week 2 summary class. All right, and we'll do a finish. That is going to create a project for me. Okay, I don't need this module info file. I can remove that. It is not needed. What we need here is a simple class where I can start writing some program. Creating a class is simple. Right-click on this place, on this folder, and say Java class. And let's give a name. We'll talk about pre-post fix. Okay. With a main method in the class, I'll switch on this checkbox, finish, and that basically creates a class for me with a main method over here, so that I can trigger a particular command or trigger a particular code here. And what am I looking at? I'm looking at that this particular file is created under a default package. So that's totally fine. By default, this class is created under a default package. Packages are nothing but a simple directory, simple folder, nothing more than that, okay? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a simple variable, and we call this variable as anything. So it's an integer variable, and say we'll name this variable as num, okay? And we give the value as 10 to it. That is how we can create a variable, assign a value to it, and the type of the variable is integer. Simple, good stuff. Now I'm going to write a particular command here. And the command is num equals to num plus 1. What exactly is that I'm doing? By looking at it, it's very simple. This value, this variable num is having the value as 10. So basically I'm adding 10 plus 1. So the new value of num variable is 11, correct? New value of the num variable is 11. It's a variable which means that it can keep on changing the values. So I can very well increment 10 to 11 or 10 to 12. Correct? So 10 plus 2, 12. The same thing can be written in a different way, and we can call it as num, okay, plus equals 2. You understand? Plus equals 2. This and this are exactly same. Correct? I can do this operation for any kind of arithmetic operator, meaning I can say num multiplied by 2. So 10 times 2 is 20. The value of 20 goes in here. Similarly, over here, I can say num star equals 2, which means the same. The value of num becomes 20 after the multiplication, correct? So that is how I can increment the value of a variable, okay? There's another way. We can specifically increment the value of a variable with num plus plus syntax. Num plus plus. What does it mean? Increments the value by 1, exactly by 1. Correct? That's the num plus plus, simple stuff. All right. Good. So let's just see something. I'm going to put some print out statement for us. Print out statements are required so that we can literally understand that on a particular line, what was the actual value of a variable. For example, I can put a value sys out here, syso, you know that, control space, that gives you this line, system.out.println, where I am going to enter the variable num. And what will it do? It will print the value of num, correct? The same thing I'm going to repeat after I make a modification in line number 9. You understand? If I am printing this line, the value of num is going to be 10 printed on the console, correct? This particular value is 10 because that's what is going to be printed in the console, line number 7. If I am triggering the same command in line number 11, and before 11, I have made a modification, then this will obviously print the new updated value, which means it is going to be what? 20? Good stuff. Again, question to you. Line number 15, let's ask this question to, I don't know, maybe Lydia. Line number 15, what will be my answer?
Hello. Well, yeah, let me calculate.
I do not hear you. I see you're speaking, but I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
No,
Yeah,
I do not
I
hear
can
you.
hear
Wait a
you.
minute. Let me see my
Okay.
speaker. If
So it
that's
should be
working fine. Yeah, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Hold on.
20 plus.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Yeah. Can you go on? Tell me, please.
yeah. So calculating. So it's 20. Um,
Line number 15. Line number 15.
so it's what is it? 30? No, wait a second. It's 20 plus. What is on line 13 that operator? Is it multiplication?
That's a multiplication. Yes.
So it's 40.
Exactly. It's 40. Why it is 40? Because earlier it was 5. In line number 5, it was 10. In line number 9, it became 20. So the value of num is 20 now. And then when I say num star equals 2, which means exactly I'm multiplying 2 into the value of num, that becomes 40. Perfect. Good stuff. Okay. And now if I print them, let me just confirm. Let me just see if we are thinking it right. So we'll just do a run as. Very simple. You know how to run this. Right click on this particular file, run as Java application, and this should print the value for me. 10, 20, 40. All good? Okay. Now I am saying, let's go and print this value one more time over here. Okay. I told you increments the value by 1, which means the value, the printout statement coming from line number 19 is going to be obviously 41, right? And that's exactly what it will print, 41. You understood? Now there is a situation with postfix and prefix. And this postfix and prefix goes only with this type of operator, plus plus. Now let me show you something. Okay, let me not increment the value of num in line number 17. Let me not do that. Or maybe let's keep it there. Okay, so num plus plus, we saw the printout here, line number 19 as 41. That's good. I'm going to write another printout statement. Okay, and this statement is sysout, and here I'll say, sorry. What's happening here? Okay, so here I am incrementing the value of num within the printout statement. So something like num plus plus. You understand? I am trying to increment the value of this variable within the printout statement. Okay, let's run this and let's see what happens. As per our understanding, num plus plus should be incrementing the value of num by 1, which means earlier this was printed as 41. So here we should get 42. Let's run this and let's see what happens ideally. We are still getting 41. Why is that? That is exactly the concept of prefix and postfix. This guy is a postfix operator, which means what? Which means the statement will be executed first, and then the increment happens. Correct? First, the statement will be executed, meaning what? What is the statement? This guy is the statement, line number 21. That's a statement, which is a printout statement. So the printout happens first. because the operator that you're using here is a postfix operator. So the statement executes first. So it executed the printout statement, which means it is still considering the value of num as the most updated value that was printed earlier. So 41, it still figures that 41 is my current value, and it executed that first. But in the memory, the update actually happened, and I can prove that to you by putting another printout statement right here at the end of 23. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that in line number 23, I'm not adding plus plus again, but I'm just saying, give me the value of num one more time after executing line number 21, where we were dealing with a postfix operator. So let's try to understand line number 23, what is happening. So if I run this, what happens? I get the value as 42. So look, 41 was right here, line number 21 was 41, and line number 42, line number 23 is 42, because that's the last printout statement. You can understand that, correct? So I got 42 here, which means the plus plus did do the job in the memory after the statement was executed, correct? On the other hand, sys out, I'm saying num plus plus, I'm saying plus plus num. Yeah, I'm saying plus plus num. What is this? This guy is actually first updating the value of num by 1. First, it is doing that and then making the printout. Correct? So let's run this and we should get 43 here. Make sense? Now, these concepts are useful whenever you're performing an operation where you need something or a statement you want to execute first, and then you want to perform an addition or perform some kind of incrementation, right? So if you have a situation like that, then you go for a postfix. If not, you're going to go for a prefix. Okay. So this is the difference between prefix and postfix. I saw Hassan was asking me some question. Hassan, do you still have the question? Or
no, it was actually just to do with you did the thing in the second print statement after the postfix, so it's fine.
Oh, right, yeah, correct. So that's the case, correct? So prefix and postfix, that's cool. So let's just move on to the next part, which is just stop me, guys, if you have a question. If you think I'm going fast, Rebecca, if you think I'm going fast, stop me, ask me the question, and then we can move on. There is no hurry. We are here to learn it, and I'm happy to go in your pace. If you're doing it for the first time, that's okay. All right, so assignment operator is what exactly I covered a minute back. You see, plus equals to, minus equals to, multiply equals to, correct? So you just perform the operation and give the value back to the variable, correct? That's exactly what I showed you here. Multiplication equals to 2, meaning you're putting the value back to the variable num. Whatever the value of num is, you're multiplying it with 2 and giving it back to the same variable. It's shorthand. It's just a shorthand, correct? So that's that. Let's move on to the next one, which is a ternary operator. What is this? So ternary operator is a situation where we are trying to write a conditional statement in a one line. Okay. So just think about it. Let me take you here. Let me create a new file, correct? So I'll just say ternary. And with the main method. And what's the plan? The plan is simple. That is, I'm going to create, number one, a situation for you. So int A 10, correct? Int B 20, correct? I'm trying to understand between these two numbers, which is greatest. Simple. What can I do? I can use an if statement. If A greater than B, then sys out, right? A, which is the number, and then I append that number with a string. So I say concatenation operator. I'm saying A plus. Plus is a concatenation operator. It is an appending operator. You're appending a number with a string and printing this value, correct? So I'm saying A is greatest. Correct? Else, just say else, the same thing. B is greatest. Good stuff? Then copy. Correct? B is greatest. Simple as that. From this statement, we can very well understand that B is greatest. And I showed you in the earlier class while debugging that how exactly it checks every line in if statement and basically verifies if the condition is true or not. So this is my simple method, simple statement to basically understand which number is greatest, and 20 is greatest, totally fine. The same thing I can actually write in a one line, correct? So we can do something like this. We can say Boolean. Boolean is for what? You know, basically to hold a true or a false. Actually, I don't need to do a Boolean ideally. I can do a number. Yeah, I can do a number. Well, let's do the Boolean, that's fine. Boolean status, okay? Boolean status. And here, I'm going to say equals to, and I'm going to write a ternary operator. Basically, this entire if else statement, I can condense it into this. I'm saying if A is greater than B, question mark, then print out sorry about that. S-O-U-T. Why can't I do that? I should be able to do this. Let's just see. Else. I think the printout statement will not work here. Yeah. I think the printout statement will not work. Type mismatch convert, exactly. It is basically saying that get me a Boolean, otherwise it's a wrong thing. So basically it is saying that, you know, if A is greater than B, then return me a true. So basically if I just say true here, then it'll be happy, or else I can say false. Yeah, then it's fine. But the point is, I want to see something. Hold on. No. Int, yeah, string. Let's just see string. I was thinking there is a way to do this in the Java to basically print out a statement when this operation is checked. Oh, looks like no. This is possible in JavaScript, but looks like in Java, this statement is not, it's not going to print out a statement, but it's going to give you back some kind of a value. So this is not the right example in that case. I mean, this is not the right example in that case. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that ternary operator, if you look at the example that I was giving you here, let me just show you. Yeah. So you can see that I'm trying to create this small statement here, right? But I'm saying that int a equals 5, b equals 6, and int result. Okay. If a is equals to b, then get the value as 10 or get the value as 6. You understand? So basically it is checking this particular condition, and if a is equals to b, then get me back 10. If not, then get me back 6. So you are supposed to predefine that what is the type of result you're trying to achieve. Okay, so what I was trying to do here is I was trying to run a statement, something that is not possible here with Java. This was possible with JavaScript, but not with Java. So that's fine. We can actually redo this. So basically, I'm going to say int result, right? I can do something like this. Yeah. Okay. I can do something like this. So int result equals to a greater than b, correct? And I'm saying if a is greater than b, then return a, else, sorry, question mark a, else return b. Make sense? Correct? What am I saying? I'm saying a, if a is greater than b, then return a, or send back a to the value result, else send b to the result. And then in the next line I can say sys out, and I can say the same thing, result plus equal plus is greatest. Yeah, the same thing in a different format, ideally, correct? And if I go and run this now, then I should be able to get the right answer again. Perfect. I hope you're getting my point. Ternary operator, exactly the syntax is this. So this is a condition. If the condition is true, then get this value. If it is false, then get this value. That is a syntax. It's a shorthand again. It is useful at times, right? So that is ternary operator. Let's move on to the next part, which is array. Okay, this is really, really important. Hassan, you have a question? Please go on.
Yeah, sorry. Just with regards to the ternary operator, I was just thinking, is it possible to nest those, or is it just taken as a very singular kind of statement?
It's a singular statement. There is no nesting possible.
Okay.
I mean, nesting instance, like we can do something like this, maybe. So, I mean, it'll be very complicated, but let's see. Int c equals 30, correct? And then what I can do is I can say if, yeah, it'll be fun. Let's see. So int result, okay? And then I'm going to say a greater than b, right? A greater than b. If a greater than b, then question mark. Then I'm going to also check that a greater than c, correct? And then if it is, then return a. You understand what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
Else we can check another condition, which is oh my god, let's see. We're going to say if so if A is greater than B and A is greater than C, then return back A. Else, we can say if B is greater than A, B is greater than A, B is greater than A. And then over here again, I can say question mark. And then I can see over here that B is greater than C. B is greater than C. Then return B. No, 1 minute. If B is greater than C, then return B. Return B. Just let me just check something on this part. Okay. So let's just see how did that play out. I think I have to give another one, or else see. Is it working out? You know, I hope you understand what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just say different conditions in this if-else block. So basically, if A is greater than B, then I was supposed to return something. Instead of returning something, I'm trying to do another condition. And on that condition, then, if it is a true, then I can say return A out of this, correct? Else, I'm putting another condition. If B is greater than A, then and B is greater than A, there is a question mark, B is greater than C, then B or else C. Yeah, it will get very complicated ideally, but I think it is possible to do.
Yeah, I
think
imagine in
it's
this
possible
scenario,
to-
you'd probably just be like, I'm gonna just use a standard if-else statement. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll
sorry, I
it'll be-
didn't mean to go on it, make you go on a
No,
tangent.
I understand. But I think it is doable because you see, I'm not really getting any error in this. Let's see if it is okay. Actually, you know, I have to completely match everyone. So I have 1, 2, 3 question marks. So I should have 3. So 1, 2, C, and then it is going to be. I have to somehow match up the semicolons, right? So 3 semicolons. If I'm getting 3 question marks over here, I should get 3 semicolon to really complete the statement, but it'll be very complicated to really look at and to read ideally. So there's if you are really trying to deal with like multiple values, go for a standard if-else statement. There is no point in creating this complex. If it's a 1, or if you just a single 2 number, then go for ternary operator. That is fine. Okay, never mind. So let's move on to the next part, which is arrays. Okay, what is an array? Array is a simple variable. So far, we have seen a variable that can store one single value. That is what we have seen so far. Okay. Array, on the other hand, is a variable under which you can store multiple values of same type. Multiple values of same type. Correct? How exactly array works? So basically what it is doing is that in case of a normal variable, when we are creating a normal variable, let me just try to draw this for you. Okay. When we are trying to create a normal variable, I told you this already. So I'm saying integer, and I'm saying num, and I'm saying 10. And I told you what is exactly happening, that in the Java virtual machine, the memory, we are creating a specific memory size depending on the data type. Okay, so data type over here is int. And in this memory block, I am giving a name to basically identify the memory block. And I'm giving the name as num. And then I'm assigning a value to it. A value to it. Right? That is exactly what a variable is doing. A single value goes inside a particular memory block. And the memory block, the size of the memory block is dependent on the data type. Correct? Now, what we can do is we can say that in a single, under a single variable name, I can stitch multiple memory blocks of same type, and that is an array. So basically, if I say int, and then I give a square brace, and then I give a value as nums, and I say new, 1 minute, okay. So then I say new is a keyword that you're learning today. We will do this keyword over and over again in Java, but new is a keyword where we are trying to create an instance of an element. What is an instance? It's right now quite hard for you to understand, but we will get there. Okay. So what I'm saying is that int num. Just give me 1 second. It's good to see somebody is here or not. All right, no. So int, and then I'm saying int of 5. What am I doing? I'm saying that I am trying to create an array of integer, and the array size is 5, meaning that I am trying to create 5 memory blocks, right? With 5 boxes, ideally, I mean 5 different boxes to hold numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Correct? This is an array to hold numbers. Just a second. Okay. So that is the variable name called nums. Okay. This variable nums is having the size of this variable nums, meaning how many number it can store, is obviously 5. You know that. But to access these memory blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to access this memory blocks individually, we have to take the help of what? Indexes. It's called indexes. So basically, it starts with the index number 0, and it goes all the way up till the size ends. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You understand? That is where it can go, and it can store 5 different numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the rule. Every time an array index basically starts from what? 0. And it goes all the way up to n minus 1. N is the size minus 1. So the size of this array is 5, and the last index is 4. So obviously n minus 1. And I can store the value inside this. So let's just see 3 different ways we can ideally instantiate an array and make it work. So look, I can do it like this, the way I showed you a minute back. Just a minute. Let me just quickly. I don't see Christy. I don't know what happened to her. I saw her, I think. Okay. So let's just see something.
She did send a message in on Slack.
Yeah, we can do that. No, I think I saw her coming, and then maybe she's having some network problem, which is why.
Yeah, she mentioned it in Slack message. She put a message in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. So then what am I doing? I'm trying to understand how to instantiate the array. The first time I just showed it to you. Look. draw. What happened to my drawing board? Okay, here. Let me clear this out. Try again. Right? This is one way to instantiate the array. Int a, int square bracket a, which is the name of the array, equals new int 5. So you just created this 5 different boxes. That's number one. Number two, what you have is another way to do it. Just the square bracket over here is moved, is attached to the number, array variable. So different ways, different syntax, same thing, right? Int a and then square bracket equals new int 5. You can do that as well. But the easiest way that I think we should be using in order to work with an array is either this. You see what is it doing? It is instantiating an array with all the numbers that is supposed to be in the array. What do I mean by that? So look, if I am instantiating the array the way I showed you earlier, which means int square brackets nums equals to new int square bracket, and within the bracket it's a 5, that means I can have 5 different indexes. Totally fine. If I want to add the value inside these indexes, I'll go like this, nums, and then I'll go for a 0, a square bracket, and then it says 0. That means that's the index, and I give the value as 1. And then I can say nums, and then square bracket, and then I go for the second index and give the value as 2, so on and so forth. That's how I will be able to do it. I'll be able to fill all the indexes, no problem at all. But then you see, that's a hassle. First, you declare the array, and then you use the index to fill the array. That's a hassle. There's an easier way to get it done. Number one is this. So int array nums. All you do is equals to, in square brackets, in flower braces, you just say the values 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's it. So you are defining an array of size 5, and at the same time, you are adding the values inside the array. Very simple way of doing this. So let's just quickly try to understand that. Run through that. What I'll do is I'll quickly go to the class, new class, arrays, a very, very important chapter because we have to deal with it over and over again. It is a part of something called as Java collections. Okay. So what do I do here? I say int nums equals, in square brackets, I can give values 54, 90. You understand? Simple stuff. I've entered all these values. Okay. If I want to print out, if I want to access the third index of this array, what can I do? It's simple enough. Sys out, and I just say nums, which is the array, and in square bracket, you just say index number 2. I'm looking for the third index, meaning index number 1, index number 2, number 3, which means what? 0, 1, 2. 0 is the first index, second index is 1, third index is 2, which means if I say index number 2, and if I just run this piece, then I should get the result, which is 56. What happened where? Okay, there's a problem here. Okay, so let me just comment this out. It's a problem in a different class file, but even then there's a problem, so it is not happy with it. Let's save this. And let's just run this. Okay, that gives me 56. Good stuff. I can go ahead and extract all these values one by one using what? Using another system that is used in every programming language, and it is called looping. Why looping is important? Because you can perform a repetitive task with a loop. What is this task? You want to access these values within the array. You want to access these values within the array. You want to access one by one all these values within the array. Correct? That is something that we can do with loops. And that's exactly where I go and start talking about loops. Okay. There are a few stuff that I want to talk before I go to the loop. Array rules, I spoke about that. This is fine. But the next thing that is important to talk about in terms of arrays is one more thing. That is an exception that you should be understanding. Okay, an error that you will be quite noticing when you work with an array, and you should understand what exactly that error means and how can you fix that error. Okay, and also I want to show you that there is a property attached to an array, and it's called .length. Right? You see, length is a property of nums array, and if you go and if you print them out, okay, I'm not saving it right. You get the value as 5. So length meaning the size of the array, how many elements it is holding. So this length is required for you to understand. Okay. Next is what I was saying is an exception that you probably can, get through in the future, right? It's called array index out of bound exception. Array index out of bound exception, meaning what? For example, if I want to access the 5th index of this array, I'm giving 5 over here for an array. Compile time, there is no error because compile time, our Eclipse, the checker, the compiler is not really understanding if there is any problem. But once I run this, not this, sorry, arrays. Once I run this, I get this error. Array index out of bound exception. Whenever you guys get a red error, the first thing I want you all to understand, please do not panic and read that error at the very top line and try to understand what exactly is happening here. The error that comes in your console, you can very well debug and understand from where exactly the error is coming. For example, you can see exception in thread main, meaning this main method. And the exception that you're getting is array index out of bound exception. Okay. And the exception is coming under this line. You see arrays.java line number 9. If you just click on this link, that takes you to this line number. So you exactly know that from which line this error was, error came, correct? So you can go and inspect and figure it out. So it is saying array index out of bound exception, meaning what? Meaning that index 5 outbounds for length 5, meaning what? Meaning that the length of this array is 5, which means the maximum index that you have available for this array is length minus 1, which is 4. I cannot access an index which is not there in the array. So I'm saying fifth index, which means if the length of the array is 6, then this would have made sense. But the length of the array is 5, so it will never make sense. Meaning, run as Java application. I'll just go and say for and then I don't get any more error. Yeah. See? So that is basically the exception, and you know how to handle that. Whenever you're seeing exception, don't panic. Read and understand, like figure it out from where the exception is coming. Go to that line and then inspect, and then, you know, see if that is making sense. If the exception is making sense. Do a Google, look at a Stack Overflow problem. I mean, it is like a developer's world, right? If you're getting into development, this is what you have to keep on doing. Okay, so I was talking about another class, and this is called loops. So I'll just say testing loops with the main method. And over here, then I'm going to again instantiate the array, or maybe let's try to talk about a loop first. Like, what exactly is loop? For example, I'm asking you to print out numbers between 1 and 500. Will you keep on doing this? 1, 2, 3. Will you keep on doing this? You will not do this. Why? Because it's stupid. You don't want to keep on writing this sysout statement till you reach 500. That is absolutely not right. What is that you can do better? We can try to use a loop. And with very few lines, I can print out 1 to 500 with very few lines, meaning I want to loop around a particular statement until my condition is false. So there is different kind of loops that we have in Java. One is a for loop. So let's just see for int I equals 1, I less than equals 500, I plus plus. This is a pre-defined loop. Not a predefined, I should say. I should say that this is a loop that has a correct understanding that where to start from or where to end. It has an understanding that where to start from. It has an understanding of its range. I'm starting from 1 and I'm incrementing myself to 500. I know this from this statement very clearly. Correct? So then what we can do is I can say sysout, and all I can do is I, right? What am I doing here? I'm writing a simple for loop. Within the for loop, there's 3 things that you have to understand. Number 1 is the initialization of a counter. That's how the for loop works ideally, right? So come on, what is happening to my draws? Let's just see. No, very weird. Just one minute, guys. Let me just try to see. Okay. This pen is coming, but not the. Okay, here. Okay. So look, for the for loop, firstly, you got to initialize a counter. If you guys are okay, let me just reshare. Hold on. As soon as I'm trying to write something on the screen, it's just not letting me do it. Okay, let's just see one more time. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, good. So look, for the for loop, firstly, you need to initialize a counter. Correct? I'm initializing a counter. Int is a int I is a variable of type int, and I'm putting a value to it, which is 1. So I'm saying from 1, we have to go till 500. From int I equals 1, I have to go till 500, and then I say I plus plus, which means that I'm incrementing the value of I by 1. If I want, I can increment the value of I by 2, no problem at all. I can just say I plus equals to 2, correct? Which means I am going from 1 and then 3 and then 5, so on and so forth, right? And then I'm printing out the value of I in line number 7. So this entire loop will keep on repeating until I hit the number 500. That's a simple loop. A statement which is in line number 7. I'm executing it and re-executing it until a condition is false, right? So here the condition for me is this, that the value of I is less than equals to 500. As long as the value of I is going to be less than 500, the loop will keep on iterating. Correct? So what I do is I just go and run this. So run as Java application. And you just see got my values, and then I was basically, I think, going by 2 digits, right? I was moving up by 2 digits. So we stand for int. I didn't get the question, Ellen. What do you mean?
Yeah, you answered when you were explaining that I sort of like equal to a variable, so I understood that.
It's a variable, yeah, it's just a variable.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So that is basically a loop, right? Now, what can we do with the loop? We can do many things with the loop, okay? For example, I am trying to find out the prime numbers between 1 and 20. Lots of prime numbers. Let's go odd numbers or even numbers, okay? I want to find out even numbers between 1 and 20, okay? Can I do it with loop? Yes, I can. How? Very simple. So I can do like this. I can say int num. Actually, no. Let's go for a loop. For I int I equals to 0. I'll start from 0. And I basically want to go till I less than equals to 20, correct? And then I go till I plus plus. I want to increment by 1, correct? From 0 to 20, all right? And then I want to do something. I want to say, print out only the even numbers between 0 and 20. Can I do that? Simple. How? I just do this. I'll say, if I modulus, you know what is modulus is, right? From the last class we discussed it. So I percentile, ideally, I percentile 2 equals to 0. That means I is divisible by 2, which means it's an even number. Then let's print that number. So sys out I. If I is if the modulus of I by 2 is 0, correct? That means the remainder. When you divide 2 by a multiple of 2, you get the value as, you get the remainder as 0, correct? So when you do that, then I can pretty easily confirm that those numbers are even numbers. So let's go and run them. I'll comment out this section. And I run them. So let's just see. 0 by 2 is, I should start from 1. 1 is better. Yeah. Doesn't make sense to be. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. They're all divisible by 2. Any repetitive task we can handle. For example, I want to access all the numbers in an array. I can do that, not a problem. I have an array here, which is this guy. So I'll copy and paste it here. And then what do? I say, okay, let's go and run them or access them. So for int I equals 0, look here, I'm not giving a predefined range, which is 20. I'm not saying 20 or 500. Rather, I'm going to parameterize it, meaning I'm going to say I less than equals to what? What? Arrays, that is nums, dot length. Actually, I should say less than, not equal to, less than nums dot length. And then I say correct? Do you understand? I am looping from 0 to the end of the array's length, and then I'm basically printing them out. So how can I print them out? Simple, sys out, and in the sys out, I can basically access the array nums, and then within the brackets, I can say I. Do you understand? Earlier, we were accessing the array indexes with nums of index value. So instead of really accessing the index value, like a constant value, I'm parameterizing it by a variable, which is this guy. Yeah. And if I do that, there is an error. What have I done? There is extra bracket. Okay. So let's run this. Got it? Hmm? 1 minute. What happened? Print I less than nums of I. Okay. Why does just printing one value? Run as Java application here. Correct? No, wait a minute. No, that's fine. Correct? So this 20 was from the previous example, and then 12, 34, 56. Yeah, that's it. Got it? So that's how we can use loops. Now there are different type of loops we have. We have a for loop, we have a while loop, we have a for each loop, correct? So each of these loops work in a different way, in a different, different requirement ideally, correct? So you will use a for loop when you know that from where to where you have to go. You know the lower limit of the loop and where exactly you want to go to the higher limit. So you know that you're starting from 0 or 1, and then you know that I am going till a particular number. So nums.length. That's a particular number I'm iterating to. So I know that, correct? So if that's the case, then I'll go for a while loop, sorry, a for loop, where I have a definite range, correct? But if I don't have that, okay, and you have to keep on, iterating a loop till till a particular job is done, okay, you have to keep on, moving around. Then basically while loop is what we will be using. So which means that we will use while loop as a conditional statement checker. Meaning I can use something like this. I can say Boolean status equals to false, correct? So number one, I set this up, okay? So I'm saying as long as the status is false, let's loop around. There is no plus required for the loop to keep on iterating. The loop will keep on iterating depending on the value of the status. If it is false, it will keep on repeating forever and ever unless you kill the process. Okay? How can I do this? Simple. I'll say while status not equals to true, as long as the value of status is not equals to true, then we perform something. Meaning I can keep on getting the nums value. So we can do another integer here. I'll say int num equals 0, correct? And we can then say that I want to print out this out. I want to print out nums, that means the array, and I want to print out the value of the array, which is with the index num. Do you understand what am I saying? I want to print out the value of nums, correct? I stand it for. I didn't get the question, Ellen. I stands for int. What do you mean by that?
Oh, is the question you answered before when I was asking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, right. So you see, what am I saying here is that in the while loop, I'm saying that let's print out the value of nums array, where nums is the array, and within this bracket, ideally, I'm saying the index. So let's just say, you know what, let's give an index, proper name to it so that you don't confuse. Correct? So if I run this now, what will happen? Do you want to see what will happen? Let me actually comment out this first for loop and the second for loop, this one as well. Okay, I'll comment them out. And let's run this, just this much. Run a Java application. Do you see what is happening? I'm stuck in an infinite loop. Can you tell me why it is happening? Why am I stuck in an infinite loop?
Because the status is evaluating to false.
I'm sorry. The status of, yeah, go on.
The status is evaluating to false
And why is that?
because you're using a not equal on the true. So it's reversing the result.
So if I just say it's like this, then this will be fine.
Actually, no, there's there's no statement to stop it from.
Exactly. That's the answer I'm looking for. So basically what you're trying to say here, what Hassan is trying to say here is this. You see, what I'm saying is that if 1 minute. So if status is equals to true, it's not equals to true. No, I should be saying Boolean status is false, right? Yeah, so if status is false, right? If status is false, I'll just do like this. As long as status is false, yeah, let's make it like this. As long as status is equals to false, keep on looping out this loop, right? So within this brackets, I have to do something to make sure that the value of status becomes true so that the loop can stop. Something. Correct? For example, in this line, just this particular line, line number 29, if I just say status equals true, just like that. Do you want to see what will it print? It will print the first index. Why? Look, there is no infinite loop. It just prints out the first statement, first index, which is 12. So why exactly it happened? So this is why it happened, right? You have to understand and analyze why exactly this happened. So look, I set the value of status as false in line number 22. I'm giving the index value as 0. Make sense? Index value of 0 meaning the array. I'm trying to get the first index, which is 12. That is understandable. Now the while loop starts. I'm just saying that as long as the value of status is false, so I have already defined the value of status is false earlier, and I'm basically checking again. So this is a single equal to, and this is a double equal to. Understand this. This means an assignment operator. You're assigning. So assignment operator. And this is equals operator. Equals operator. So basically means what? In the first case, you're putting you're setting the value of status as false. That's the first case. You're setting the value of status as false. That's an assignment operator. In this case, it is not an assignment operator, but it is a equal operator, meaning you're saying the left-hand side of the equation is equals to the right-hand side of the equation. Correct? Because false is already set under the left-hand side of the equation from my previous statement. So I'm saying if my left-hand side is equals to right-hand side, if it is, then let's go inside this block. So I come inside the block. As soon as I come inside the block, I see my statement to print out what? Nums of index, meaning what? The 0th index. And I do print 12 because that's exactly what I have in my array in the first index. So 12 is printed. And then immediately what am I doing? I'm making the value of status from false to true right here. Sorry. Yeah, you understand. So as soon as I just make that value from false to true, and the loop goes back to the condition check again, which is here, it says status is not equals to false anymore because status become true. So it breaks out of the loop. I'm not getting an infinite loop. I'm getting the first index of the array, and that's it. Whatever I just said so far, can you please give me a thumbs up in the chat or in your chat? Yeah, Anita, what is the confusion? Can you come and
Hi.
ask me the question? Yeah, hi, tell me, Anita.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost you. I got you up to a point, but the while statement, I'm confused. That means true.
Did you understand the for loop properly?
I think so.
Okay, so let's just go and go through this one more time. This time I'll go with the debug mode. Okay, debugging is a facility or a tool that is available within an IDE to really understand and analyze each and every sentence or each and every syntax, how exactly it is performing. So how exactly it is going through, right? So we'll just put a breakpoint here, line number 12. If I click on this blue line 2 times, then it creates a breakpoint. You see this dot. And let me try to run this in a debug mode, and let's just see what happens. All right. So what I'm going to do is debug as Java application. And that is stopping. You see, I didn't get any result. You see, if you look at the console, nothing printed out. Why? Because I'm not in the while loop section here where there is a sys out. I'm not. I'm kind of pausing my execution in the middle. And I'm just waiting for me to like take to the next step, right? So line number 12, you see this gray box, which means I am at pause. Totally fine. Now I can understand. So when I say pausing, it means it is just paused in line number 22, which means that it has not executed line number 22 yet. It is about to. It is not executed yet. So if I just hit this curved arrow over here
Sorry,
called step.
Sorry, the screen I can't see. Can anybody else see? Because it's static for me. Your screen.
Really?
It's just
What about for other? Let me just stop and share again. What about now?
No, it's still showing me the 12 in the console.
Is it happening for everyone else?
I don't think so. I don't see anything in the console.
Can't see
Exactly.
anything in the console as well.
Yeah, so it's just static for me.
Could be a
I might-
problem with your internet connection. It's a Zoom that is kind of sometimes becomes dicey. So can you just
I'll
log
leave you
out
to-
and come back? And
Sure. Okay.
yeah, just wait. You just leave and come back. That's fine. Okay. So what am I saying is that I'm putting a breakpoint. Let me do this one more time so that you can understand. So there's a blue line here, a border here. In this border, I can go ahead and I can double click on a particular line and I can create a breakpoint. This is a concept in programming, which is called as debugging. As a part of this debugging process, we can pause the execution in the middle of the whole execution cycle, and we can ideally, inspect that how every line is really working. So which means that if I double click on line number 22, I see a small blue dot. That's my breakpoint. Okay. Now I will run this program in a debug mode. So I just say debug as, not run as, but debug as Java application. And if I do that, you will see line number 22, there is a gray line, which means I am at pause right now. I haven't executed line number 22 yet. I'm about to. It is not done yet. Okay. So now what do I do is I click on the curved line, curved arrow over here. It's called step over on the top left corner. You see curved arrow is called step over. So if I click on this, I go to the next line. You can see the gray line move to the next line, line number 23. Now here at this stage, if I go on inspect the value of the status variable, how can I inspect? Just hovering your mouse on top of the status variable. And you can see status variable is having the value as false. Correct? Line number 23 is not yet executed. If I put my mouse on top of index, nothing comes out. No value comes out. But once I click on the step over again, and I have done with the line number 23, and now I put my mouse on top of index, I get the value as 0. So that is how Java is executing line by line by line. It happens in a fraction of a second, which is why you don't realize. But this is how it is exactly happening. So now you understand that the value of status is false, right? The value of index is 0. What am I doing is, in line number 25, I'm checking what? I'm checking if status, which is the left-hand side, let me draw. Yeah. This left-hand side is equals to the right-hand side or not. I'm checking the LHS is equals to right-hand side or not. While it is, if this condition is true, that's why I'm saying while loop, as long as this condition is true, whatever is within the loop will be executed. Correct? So now status is false from my line number 22. I know the value of status is false. So false will equal to false, obviously. And when that happens, then let me go back. When that happens, then if I do a step over again, I will be taken inside the block. So status is false, which is matching false. Correct? So this statement is a true statement. False is matching false means it's a true, correct? And how do you prove that? You can prove that this statement is true. You know what? Look, I'm selecting this whole section, correct? Right clicking on here, okay? And I'm going to say watch. There is this tool called as watch. So watch is another feature that IDE is giving us, where I can keep on watching a variable or a statement, and I can see a value of that statement at runtime. So you see, I'm clicking on this watch, and you will see a new tab opens up. It's called expressions, and you can see over here. You see that? Okay, let me just clean this too, guys. Delete. Okay, and you can see here status equals to false. Look, status double equal false, and that value is coming as true, meaning that this condition is true, which is why I am coming inside the block. Otherwise I wouldn't, right? So now what do? I can execute line number 27. So I did. I get the value 12, correct? And line number 29, I'm saying, let's change the value of status to true now, correct? So let's just do that. So value of status is true now. So basically now what is happening? So status, which is true, I'm trying to match with false. Is it going to match? It is never going to match. True is not false. That means the while loop will not execute anymore and it will simply exit. Just like that. This is how a loop is working. Anita and everybody else, is it making sense?
Yes, it did then. Thank you.
Okay. So that's how things are done. So this is while loop. I just showed it to you. What I'll do is I'll also talk about another loop, which is called as a for each loop. Okay. I'll take a quick 5 minutes break, guys. I'm just talking for the last 1.5 hours. I'll take a quick 5 minutes break. You will take a breather as well. And then we'll come back and then we will try to complete this. And then we will go to classes and objects in Java. Okay. I have also told you that we, in this training, we don't really rush behind the students to make sure that you can complete the training in exactly 4 months. I'm happy to kind of give a buffer to this training program so that we can have enough time to clear things out. At the initial stage, for some of you guys, probably you will feel that it is a little bit repetitive for some of you already who have done the programming, correct? We have few candidates here who have some basic understanding. So for them, probably these things are very fundamental and repetitive, but I am requesting you guys to hang on there because I have students coming from different background and they are here to learn as well. So if I don't really make the foundation strong, we won't be able to learn it the right way. So, if it's repetitive, I'm sure you are at least learning something, correct? Okay, give me 5 minutes. I'll come back and we'll start from here. Thank you so much. Okay, so now what we are trying to understand is the next thing. That is the for each loop. Okay. What is a for each loop? For each loop is something that is a loop that works on collections. Like array is a collection. It can work directly with an array, meaning that you don't need to really work on a range ideally, right? You don't need to work on a range ideally. You can just apply an array to this for loop and it will keep on iterating, correct? So meaning that I have this particular nums. I can use a for each loop like this. So for the for each loop, you don't need to really set any range like we did in the earlier case, correct? So meaning that I can directly say all we have to do here is we have to know what is the content of the array. The content of the array is integer, correct? So I can say int num : nums, right? Because I know that the content of the numbers array is num, correct? And it's a type of integer. So I'm just saying that let me create a for each loop to access each and every number. correct? So now all I will do here is sys out num, and that's it. So meaning what is happening is that you are supplying this entire array over here. And this for loop is an automatic for loop, which will pick up each and every number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each and every number when it is iterating. So number 12 goes inside the num variable, correct? Basically num variable, not the data type, num variable in the iteration number 1, and that value gets printed here. Again, 34 goes inside the num variable and it prints that. You understand? So iteration by iteration, it picks up all these values one by one and prints out the number. We can debug this and we can see how it is working. What we can do is we can put a breakpoint here again, line number 34, 33. I can remove the other breakpoints that we were having. So now we go and do a run or a debug, right? So debug as Java application, and that sits on line number 33 now. Okay, and then what is it doing? Let's go and do a F6. So what happened is line number 33 got executed. So out of this nums array, 12, 34, 56, 78, 90, the first index is accessed and that index is getting printed. See, 12 got printed. This 12 comes from the previous operation somewhere here, I believe, from this loop. So leave that. Only for this one, you see, 12 got printed. Again, the loop iterates back to the line number 33. It gets the next another index. It prints it out. Again, the next one, the next one, and the next one, until it hits the last index automatically. You don't have to track that, and it comes out of the loop. Simple. Correct? That's the for each loop. There are 3 types of loops ideally: for loop, while loop, for each loop. Correct? And there is also a do while loop. Believe me, nobody uses that. While loop is something that we will use. Do while loop, I have given the understanding in the video, but it is not really that great of a deal. Just give me a minute. Okay, so that is that. So I need to do one more thing, just a minute. So that is that. So let's move on to the next part of our program, which is also classes and objects, a very important subject. But there is also another thing I wanted to talk about. It's called var args. I've explained that in the video, but then I'll also take this up in the class. It's called var args, okay? So what do I mean by that? So I just say test var args. Correct? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is we are going to look at something. So I'm going to give you a problem statement. The statement is that I want to find out the summation of all the numbers. I want to find out the summation of all the numbers. How can I do it? So the idea is that I want to pass on 10 numbers into a method, and I want to find the summation of those numbers, correct? So then how can I do it? What I can do is I can create a method. Method is a block, which is a different block from the main method. There are two blocks here that I'm going to create. One block is the main method, which is already there. And the second block is I'm going to create is called summation or sum. So public static, okay, void sum, correct? And this block sum is accepting 10 different no, let me do it the other way. Okay, this block is a method. Okay, so let me just write this for you. This is a method. This is a method that accepts an array, an integer array. So my idea is that I want to pass on an integer array to it, and I want to get the summation of all those numbers. So if I want to pass on an integer array to this method, then this method should have an argument. The argument should be an integer array argument. So I will say int in brackets nums. You understand? So this is a method called sum. Inside this sum method, I'm going to pass on an integer array. And in this integer array, I will have multiple numbers, which I want to get the sum from. I want to add all of them and get the sum. Correct? How can I do it? Let's write the program first. It's simple. I'm going to say int temp equals 0. I'm creating a temporary variable called temp, and I'm assigning a value to it, which is 0. Correct? Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a loop. So the loop is a for loop. Okay? This for loop will iterate my array. So I can say int I equals 0, I less than nums dot length. You have seen this syntax earlier. So simple. I'm simply looping around an array, nothing more than that. I plus plus. You have seen this array, this exact syntax earlier. So by doing this, what will happen? I will be able to access every index of this array. Make sense? Now what I'll do? Each and every index that I have, I want to add that index with the next index. Meaning, I'm going to say temp, which is this variable over here, temp equals to, correct? Nums of I, which is my index, which is my number in that respective index, plus temp. What does it mean? It is actually very simple. Look what is happening here. In this array, I have 3 numbers, for example. Let's go for lower number. I have 3 numbers, 12, 34, 46, 45. I have 3 numbers, 12, 34, 45. Good. The loop starts right here. The loop starts right here in line number 14. When the loop starts, just concentrate on this particular section. What will happen here? I will get the first index because the loop starts from the 0th index and it's going to the length. The length of this array is 3, so less than length, which is index number 2, 0, 1, 2, correct? So it'll go till there, correct? So index number I, which is the index number 0, I will get the value which is 12. Everybody agrees to that? Give me a thumbs up in the chat. I mean in the participant section, you have a chat option, right? You have a thumbs up option. Just give me a thumbs up. Very good, very good. Everybody understand that? Awesome. Okay, good. So then the value over here, which I'm getting is 12. Look at this. I'm getting 12, correct? 12 plus 0, because the value of temp is 0, is equals to how much? 12. So basically, when I say temp equals to 12 plus 0, so basically it means that temp is actually getting the value as 12. Temp is actually getting the value as 12. Okay? Now let's go and try to understand the next iteration. In the next iteration, the value of this num I is 34, and the value of temp is 12 because 12 was registered in temp from the previous iteration. So 34 plus 12 is 46. That goes to the temp. Correct? Next iteration happens, and the value of nums of I is 34, 45, right? Yeah, 45 plus 46. So 45 plus 46. So 91. Correct? And then it goes to 91. And then what I do is I end my loop. And at the end of the loop, out of the loop, not within the loop, but out of the loop, I go and print out this out temp. Understand? Correct? Make sense? So this is the simple logic of this sum. How do I call this method? I can call this method like this. Over here, sum. And over here, I'm going to pass on the array. So firstly, I'll create an array. So int array num equals whatever the value it is, 12, 34, 45, 56, 67. And this entire array nums. You understand? This array, I'm passing it over here. Correct? And if I do that, then what happens? This method will be called from line number 10 till here, and then we'll do the whole job. Let me just put it in a breakpoint and just show it to you. I'm putting multiple breakpoints here so that we can just realize what's really happening. So what I'll do is I'll just run this in a debug mode. Testing where RX debug as Java application. So line number 8, the array is getting initialized. Line number 10, I am calling this sum method, which takes me within the method, you see. So you see, if you hover your mouse on top of this variable, you can see all these values were supplied into the method, correct? Temp is 0, no problem at all. I go and step over. There's a for loop. The for loop starts for that number of, arrays, like whatever the values I have in the array. So the loop will keep on iterating. So I go inside that. temp equals to num I equals to temp, which means you see temp is right now 0. Nums of I is how much? Do a watch. 12. See that? Nums of I is 12 and temp is 0. So the value of temp will be 12. Look, it is 12 now. This keeps on happening for all the values, keeps on adding back and forth until all the numbers are exhausted. Line number 22, it prints out 214. Okay, that is how I can get a summation of all the numbers. Now, I was talking about var args. You are actually doing exactly the same thing, but in a different format. So basically, I'm creating another method right here. And this method is not accepting an array, like an actual array, but it is accepting a var args. Var args stands for variable arguments. Variable arguments, meaning what? Meaning I can just say int dot 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 and space, sorry, space is right here. Okay. And let me see what's the problem. Yeah, this and this one is they're considering that they are same because var args is nothing but an array again. So yeah, that's fine. I just say sum with var args. Okay. All right. So look, here in this method, I'm actually accepting an original array, but here I'm not accepting an array, but I'm accepting something called as var args, and it has a particular syntax, int dot 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 space nums. But you see, within this implementation, the body of it, I am not changing at all. It's exactly the same. But to call this method var args, it's a different way to call it. Like in this case, you see, I created an array and supplied that array inside this method, but not with var args. Var args, I can directly supply the numbers like this. See that? Whatever. And I can keep on supplying over and over and over again. You don't have to deal with the array size or blah, 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 nothing. Just keep on supplying n number of numbers into it and it accepts it. But you see, this mechanism and this mechanism is exactly same. And if I run them, I'll just comment this out so that this method will not be called. Only this method will be called because I just commented them out. Okay, with the forward slashes. You can comment this out, save, and continue, and then just go and run this. And you get the value now, 541. So that is var args. Am I clear, Hassan? You have a question? Go on.
Yeah, I've actually never really come across this before, which is kind of strange, the var args. In a practical sense, is that like common?
Yeah, it is absolutely common. You can definitely use something like this where you are not really sure that how many arguments you will actually require to perform a task. For example, I'm asking you to create a method which is supposed to take few parameters, and then you figured out that these parameters that you're taking, they are of same type, but then this parameter numbers can get, it can vary. Sometimes you are required to pass on just a couple of parameters. Sometimes you have to pass on more data into it, and you can deal with that var args. Then it is absolutely a use case.
Okay, yeah. It's just something I've never come across, which I'm actually surprised that I need to go and brush up on that.
No problem at all. That's fine. That's why you're here. Good stuff. So that's that. And now what are we doing? So any questions and any doubts that you have for me? Whatever I have covered so far today? Guys, don't be shy, please. Ask me questions.
Can I ask a question? It might be a bit
Yeah.
silly.
No problem, man. That's totally fine. That's totally fine.
Right.
Go on.
So is there a reason for the color coding on this?
It all depends on the IDE that you're using. Here it is Eclipse, that's what I'm using. And in different IDEs, you can create different color coding. It will automatically come for it, right? Basically, what happens is that eventually when you start using the color coding syntax, you kind of get a hang of it. For example, these are all keywords. You see these orange guys?
Yeah.
These are all keywords, right? In Java. These are all all system built. This is the yellow, which is something that I am creating. You see that?
Right.
Yeah. And then this one is basically, I think this is for the number or something like that. Oh, sorry, this is for the arguments. You see, these blue ones are for the arguments.
Okay.
It's an argument for a method. Okay, so Eclipse is kind of predefining your color coding. Ideally, you don't have to really bother about that, but eventually, it will kind of give you an understanding just by looking at it that what exactly it is. Ideally, whatever you are writing, it's all there in you're writing from your understanding and experience. Color coding just kind of give you a little bit of visual impression, but yeah.
I guess
It's
it makes
nothing.
it easier
It's not
for
a.
newbies.
Yeah, for a new guy, it may be easier. For me, you can get me. I can write the whole thing in a simple black and white. It will not
Okay.
really make any difference.
Okay.
But for a new person, yeah, it kind of okay. Orange guys are keywords that are coming from Java, right? If I'm creating something that's yellow, I mean, if you want to really remember that, it's fine. But it's not a deal breaker. The concept is a deal breaker.
Wow. Thanks.
No problem. So that's that. Okay, guys. So I'm just thinking, I understand that we covered a lot of intense topics today. I need to really hear from you that do you guys want to go and learn Java class today? Because Java class is very intense. Or do you want to start next week where we start fresh with fresh mind and we learn Java class, because it is quite intense. You have to understand what is a class, what is an object, why are we creating an object, what can we do with this object. I mean, you can actually build a whole story, you can build a whole system, like I don't know, maybe some kind of a car washing company, or some kind of a company where there is a machinery and you want to see the data is flowing from one end to the other end. You can do that. You can create that entire process with Java class, with multiple Java classes and a combination of loops and arrays and those kind of things. So I'm just trying to understand. It's going to be complex. I'm trying to understand. Do you want me to go and start the Java class now, or do you want to come back next week and learn it from the beginning? What do you think?
I think for me, today's been quite heavy going, but I don't know about others.
That's fine. That's fine. What about others?
Next week,
Same.
fresh
Yeah.
Next
approach.
week?
Next week, yeah.
Next week?
We look
Okay.
quite heavy to process.
I totally understand. This is the reason why I'm here. I want to give you, this is why I was saying that there's a reason why this boot camp is a 4 to 5 months boot camp. It is not something that you can just grab in a week or two. It is never possible. If somebody is really telling you that it is possible, then I don't know, they're bluffing you. So it is an intense thing. It requires a lot of hands-on experience. Whatever I'm teaching you guys, you have to practice over the week. Otherwise, you will forget. Tomorrow, Sunday, you have the whole day. Keep yourself some time in between and learn this. Practice this. Ellen, you have a question? Please go on.
Yeah, I wanted to line 28, which has got int ... So are there any specific numbers do you have to enter in there? Because I'm thinking.
No, it is called a variable arguments. That means you can put an n number of arguments over there for this particular. So this is one argument. This is just one argument that can take n number of values. It means that. Okay, so for example, in this method, I can have one more argument. Okay, for example, string name. This method can accept two arguments, for example. So this is name method, name argument, and a varargs argument. This varargs argument can accept n number of values, but this guy over here is going to accept only one value. Also, one more thing to remember, that you cannot keep two varargs argument in the same method. You cannot keep two varargs argument in the method. You can keep only one varargs argument, which is this one. And it's very clearly telling you there. The variable argument type string of method must be the last parameter, meaning it has to be only one. It cannot be two. It has to be only one. So this method can accept many arguments, but only one varargs argument. But in the vararg argument, you can supply multiple data. That is the whole idea.
Okay.
Good stuff.